self-aware, and I do understand what I need,
Yeah.
and I know how to set the expectation and set my clear boundaries.
Yes.
I set that up front, regardless of who you are.
Yes.
And I also like to welcome. So, do you have some? Let me know. And I'd like to know if we can realistically give each other what we need so we can flourish into a healthy relationship.
Welcome to the Bold, Bossy, and Blessed podcast. I'm your host, Nakisa Green, your conversationalist, where you can join me weekly as I discuss and share parenting, dating, and relationships, one conversation at a time. Now let's get into it. Yes, let's get into it, y'all. What's up? Welcome to the show. I am your host, Nakisa Green, your favorite conversationalist. I am so excited to bring you another show. As you just heard last week, I had Miss Sherry Jordan on the show, and we talked about everything as it relates to parenting, dating, divorce, co-parenting, how she found her unicorn, how she explained to me about monkey barring. So if you have not heard that episode, please go back and listen to that episode. I had never heard the analogy of monkey barring before I had her on the show, but it is exactly how she said it is. And I am so glad to be healed from that method of dating. Like, I'm so glad to be healed, having gone through therapy and continually going back and forth, as need be to just navigate life. And I am excited about today's show. What a week we've had. Recently, Chris Rock released his new Netflix live show. I did catch it. I didn't catch it live, but I caught it on Saturday night before I went to sleep. I was a little sleepy, but I tuned in to the replay. And I kind of forward until it got to Chris Rock part because I was sleepy. And I listened to it. And as I was listening, I'm like, okay, get to it, because people have been talking all day about the live. And I'm not sure if other places had already heard it before it came to the Central Time or what, but I was in the car on my way home and people were talking about on the radio how people were outraged, I guess the people that had heard it, and about him being disrespectful to Black women. I will say that I did not really listen to that part, because the beginning of it, when he started talking about abortion and killing babies up until the age 4, and everybody just laughing, and laughing. And I get jokes. Obviously I get jokes. I think what is offensive is other people that don't know Chris Rock personally and don't know, other comedians personally, how they take on this stance of, oh, you don't know comedy, or that's how comedy is, and oh, you never heard Chris Rock joke before. And it's like, dude, I watch Everybody Hate Chris too. Come on now. You ain't the only person that heard Chris Rock tell jokes on the radio or on the TV or on the special, on the live. Not my first rodeo. I'm 45 years old. I have heard him tell jokes before. I have heard other comedians tell jokes before. But to me, I think that there has been a switch, and there is a difference between wanting to bring awareness to something, I guess, in terms of me wanting to say this so that people can see how ridiculous they are or have been or are being in a certain topic. But with that joke, I just felt like the whole kids and the babies, and it was just, to me, I draw the line when it comes to the babies and the kids. I just draw the line on that. Some people were saying that he sounded like he was bitter, like he still needed to go to therapy and get healed, and relates to how he talked about his relationships. And he shared a story about his daughter and how she got kicked out of school and how he was like, that's what he wanted and he was the cause of it and things like that. Like everybody has their own parent story where it's like, it may not be that extreme, but everybody has their parent story. Make sure you're following me on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Nikisa Green. And if you would like to email the show, you can email us at boldbossybless@gmail.com. You can also follow the podcast page on YouTube and Instagram at Bold Bossy Bless. And don't forget to check out my website, www.boldbossybless.com. My guest today is Samantha Smith. I met Samantha at a networking event, and I will chat a little bit more once I bring her on. But Samantha is a business woman. She is a mother. She is a wife. And I have known her for a while. So I just want to welcome Samantha Smith to the show.
Hey, Nikisa, I am well, girl. How are you?
That's good. So it's been a while since we've chatted.
Yes.
I always see you on Facebook, and I love your posts. I love, you already know, girl. I love your style. I love everything you got going on. So let's catch up. So you have started doing hair, or you always done hair?
No, I started doing hair just kind of randomly after I learned how to do my own natural curls. And it just felt like something that I wanted to do. I couldn't really put my finger on what it was that had me interested in it. But every time I went to get my own hair done, I would tell my stylist, like, I don't know, I feel like I want to do this. And she was like, hey, go to cosmetology school. And one day I just texted her and was like, I enrolled. And that was it. So that was in 2019. So I never did anybody else's hair before. I'm just,
Wow.
yeah, never.
So I'm even more impressed. I'm even more impressed because, oh my goodness, there have been so many times where I perm my hair and then let it be natural, let it grow out, and then I try to like watch the YouTube videos and I buy all this product. Oh my goodness, I buy all this. And I try to do step 1, step 2, step 3. But it just never comes out the way that I see it on YouTube. So I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I know that we should know how to do our own hair, like our own natural hair, but I literally will probably need somebody to like teach me step by step, like, hey, this is what you do. Okay, this is your curl pattern. So for your curl pattern, you need to do X, Y, and Z. So I know, because they say, try these products to see if it works well for your hair. And I'm like, I do that, but then how many products I gotta buy?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so when you was in school, did they teach you about like the products for different curl types?
The school is like the basics of hair, skin, nails type stuff. So a lot of girls, they get in cosmetology school and they may get discouraged because whatever their particular niche is not being nurtured in school. But that's not really what it's for. It's supposed to give you the basics so that you understand just, the very basics of hair, skin, and nails, and the rest of that education you have to get on your own. So, yeah, they didn't teach me anything about hair products or anything. I mean, like, you do learn some science there, you know what I mean? So what particular products are supposed to do, but nothing for particular curl types or anything like that. And to be honest, like, you don't really need a product for your curl type. You just need to learn how to do your hair. And that's what I do. Like, I teach my clients how to do their hair, so they're not chained to me forever, for every week or every 2 weeks. They typically come to me on a quarterly basis just to get a haircut.
Oh, wow, that's good. So let's backtrack. So I remember you selling tacos. Like, I mean, this is in addition to what you do. Like, I'm like you was known as the taco queen, or I forgot whatever the hashtag was.
The taco lady.
The taco lady.
Okay.
I'm
still her.
Oh, you still the taco
Taco
lady.
lady.
Okay, so you gonna have to come to Dallas. You gonna have to come to Texas and just cook some tacos, make some tacos for us, like for an event or
I,
something. Because I always see the pictures and I be like, oh my goodness, this is so good. Then I be like, now what was she doing when I was in
right.
Chicago? Like she,
I'm sitting here thinking like you never got no tacos. As much as I love you,
no,
I can't believe I never
no.
fed you.
Okay, so let me see. I remember we hadn't been at your house
Mm-hmm.
before, but I don't think you made tacos.
I can't even imagine what I would say
It's
if I didn't. I think I probably did have tacos, girl. I
You
probably
did?
did
Okay. Well, that was a very long time ago. That was
longer.
at least 10 years ago.
Longer. It's probably it's been
Yeah.
longer because I've been married 9 years now, so it was
Yeah.
even
So,
before that.
so I joined that company in 2012.
Okay, so
And so you came in after like, I think like around that same time. Yeah. So, and I remember, and then I think like right after that, you got
yeah,
married. So you've been married almost 10
yeah.
years. How has that journey been from meeting as always, of course, working, but in addition, having the network marketing and then getting married, having children? How has the journey been that now you're looking at almost 10 years? Like it almost, I don't know for you, but does it seem like it was just yesterday? Because I mean, 10 years, like it seems like it's a long time, but you're like, dang, it seems like we just,
It seems like
10 years was just
It seems
yesterday.
like I remember a conversation you and I had in the parking lot one time talking about our girls and life and all of that, and it definitely doesn't seem like it was that long ago.
Yeah.
The time will fly. You might as well do whatever the thing
Yes.
is that you want to do because if we are
That's
blessed enough
true.
to live another day, like the time is going to pass anyway. So it's fine. It's flying for sure.
Yeah, I remember our youngest was like smaller. Like, oh man, I forgot what grade Morgan was in, but oh, that was a long
Yeah,
time ago. Like she was like 5 or
I was going to
six
say
years
like,
old back then.
yeah, and they're juniors now.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah. I'm
awesome.
like, where does time go?
Yeah.
So, talk to us about the 10-year journey of marriage and also share like what has been, I guess, the cluster or the nucleus of what keeps your marriage going so in a healthy way, and what keeps you, like what makes you all still smile at each other after 10 years. 10 years, like, wow, congratulations, girl, that's a long
Thank
time.
you. Yeah, we've been together 14 years, and I'm here to tell y'all that it's the ups and downs, it's the ebbs and
Yeah,
flows. And, more than anything, we just go with the flow. When it's up, it's up. When it's down, but we just stay consistent. Like, there's never a time when we don't show each other that we love each other. If he's mad at me, I still get my coffee in the morning. He's off work right now, because he had a back injury, but if I was to be making lunch for him, I would still do those things. Like the things that we do to show each other love in the midst of no matter whether we're on good terms or not the greatest terms. I think that that's what's really held us together. It's just that we're consistent and it's never a time where it's like it doesn't feel like we love each other because of whatever
yeah,
the space is that we're in.
right.
Yeah.
So how do you like, because I've been married
Hmm.
before, and I've been divorced a long time. I think I've been divorced almost 12 years now. So being consistent, even no matter what space you're in, being consistent because you know that you're in it for the long run. How do you do that? Is it because you all just made a decision that like we in this forever? So whatever it is, this is the decision. So I'm gonna be consistent in it, or like or is love the motivating factor of keeping up with the consistency?
I think love and peace. Like we like for our home to be peaceful. So even when we're not on great terms, like it's still peaceful here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're not hell raisers, either one of us really by nature. So I think that that's really it. It's just kind of like we know we want peace, and
Hmm.
if you want peace, you got to bring peace. And you don't
Yes.
necessarily have to be agreeing at the time to be peaceful. So I think that that's it. And more than anything, like, I can't even really take credit for that portion because that's something that I think he taught me. you know
Yeah.
um I can just recall, like, earlier on when we were still dating and things weren't always great, but he just never changed
Mhm.
up. He was always consistent. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
good.
so it was like, that's something that I definitely learned from him.
Would your kids growing up and seeing you transition from before you started doing hair, but you was always a taco
Hmm.
lady and doing the net, the business that me and you both were in together. How was parenting through that? Like, how we wear so many hats. How was parenting through all of that for you? And what would you say when it comes to like just working in these businesses and taking care of our home, being a wife, being a mother? Like, how has that been? And what would you say keeps that up, like keeps it going, like keeps it flowing? You know how they say the wife or the woman in the home keeps everything
Hmm.
going, just flowing.
I think that just constant communication. Like, when I was in cosmetology school, so I still work a full time job, even though I'm an
Hmm.
entrepreneur, and I'm like full time, part time with that. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
still work my full time job. I've been there for 23 years now. And I just
Nice.
constantly being in communication of why we're doing this. And that's something that we learned in the network marketing, like knowing your why and knowing.
Oh, yes.
Listen, it was so many gems that we got from there. Like, I know we thought we were
I
gonna be
know.
millionaires and we were gonna have mansions and all of that stuff, right? But the personal development portion of it was priceless. I mean, like, it was worth the price of admission every single time. And just the why. Like, my daughter would be frustrated when I was in school because I was in school part time. I was working full time, and
Yeah.
like, I was gone all the time, and just me constantly reminding her of, like, why we're doing this, so that we could
Yeah.
have something with our name on it, and that I wanted her to be able to see that you can juggle all of these things. Like, when you become a mother and a wife, that it's
Yes.
possible that you don't have to put your dreams to the side because you became something to somebody else. You still are who you are to yourself first. So, um, yeah,
That's
and it
good.
was just a constant conversation because she was sad, and we were going through all this during the pandemic too. So it was already a
Oh,
very lonely time for everybody, and then now mom is gone all the time too.
right.
So just constantly communicating, and again, just telling, just constantly putting emphasis on the why we're doing this.
Okay, so I remember like 2020, that was when COVID came and my daughter was entering into high school. Is your daughter junior
Yep.
too? Okay, so they would enter into
Pandemic
high
grad.
school and her first year, it was
Yeah.
virtual. So she was just like, it was different. And then when they did go to in person, like my daughter, she had a rough time adjusting to high school. It's so different from elementary school. And so the adjustment was a lot for her. It was a lot for her. I wouldn't say I was completely prepared for the adjustment. Cause it's like they grow up so fast, and it's like I knew high school was coming, but I'm like, okay, I got this. Like, if I can raise three babies at one time, like I got this one. And I found out, no, ma'am, no.
It was a different can of worms completely.
Yep, we are in a different culture. There's different things going on. Like, yeah, there's some same things that's going on, but then it's just different. And so I realized and found out that I couldn't raise her the same way I was raising my triplets. And I even had to go, like I said, let me get to the library and start buying, bringing some books out about parenting so I could really understand how to stay present during her teenage years when they really need us the most, and make sure that I'm providing support for her and not being like trying to be like I didn't want to be her friend, of course, but at the same time I do appreciate that we do have a relationship where she can come to me. Now it's times she don't come to me, but then when she don't, it's always something that happens that she don't have no other choice but to come to me and be like, "Ma, I didn't want to come to you," but and then she, she spills it. And when I was growing up, I didn't have that with my parents. Like it was more so like back in those days, it was more so like you a child, stay in the child's place, y'all don't talk when adults talking. So I didn't have that space, and I was kind of quiet in school, so it was a lot different. But then when I got an adult, I was able to like have that relationship with my mom and even with my sister, because in high school I didn't talk to my sister. Like we fought and argued like regular sisters. I took her clothes and she didn't like it, or I stole her lipstick, or something like that. So that's how I grew up. So in dealing with that and staying in constant communication with your daughter, does she open up to you and tell you like some of the things that's going on in her life?
Everything.
And was you like that now? So this is me. So I gotta ask you this. I gotta ask you this. So a lot of times, like, I'm trying to listen to like my daughter telling the story, and I'm like, okay, stay patient, stay calm, do not give an opinion, just listen to the whole story, so she won't, feel like she can't. Like when you are listening, sometimes like what's going on in the inside when you're listening.
It depends what it is, but I know that it's part of the day that she looks forward to. And I know that
Yeah,
like that is priceless at this age that she's seeing.
yeah,
And I heard you say that, you don't want to be your daughter's friend. And I challenge that a little bit because for me, I am her friend. She's not mine. And I think that that's the difference. Like I
yes,
don't use her as a friend. I don't, vent to her and go to her with my problems, but I do definitely consider myself her friend. And she says,
I like
yeah.
that.
So, and I think that's a debate that people have out here. Like, you don't want to be your child's friend, but it's like who you trust your friends. You know what I mean? I know I
Yeah,
didn't trust my parent. I trusted my friends. And some of the things that she shared with me shows me that she trusts me. You know what I mean? Because
yeah,
at that age, I became a mom when I was 16. So I
yeah.
know the secrets I was keeping from my mother. You know what I mean?
Right, same.
I know that my mom didn't know the surface of what was going on in my real life,
Right.
but I
Yeah.
know that she looks forward to it. So even today, like when she came home out from school, I was taking a nap and like she couldn't wait for me to wake up. And she was like, "Well, can I tell you about what's going on right now?" So
Right.
I try to keep a poker face, and try to let her know that I'm interested. But there are times,
Yeah.
Nikisa, where I have to be like, I don't have the capacity for that right now. Can we come back to
Yeah.
that another time? And we both do therapy. It's something that we
Okay.
started in the pandemic, and I think that it helped
That's
build
good.
our relationship because it was just us here. My husband still worked throughout the pandemic, so
Right. Oh
yeah, he's
wow.
a truck driver, so he was still out there. So me
Yeah.
and her in this house
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was either we were going to communicate or we were going to retreat and go, our separate ways.
Yeah.
And so we learned how to communicate and we learned some tools about just asking each other, like, what do you have the capacity for? And I don't know if you even remember, there was a time when we were doing like a Facebook Live on Fridays. It was called How You Feeling Fridays. And it was really
Uh-huh.
geared for children because it was like, just wanting her.
I remember that.
Yeah, it
I like that movement. So I don't know, like, is that coming back? Are you gonna do that again, or
being here.
maybe once a
Let me
month?
tell you something, Akisa. Even being here with you right now is me telling God, whatever you ask me to do, I'm going to say yes. So if I got to do it, like I'm camera shy, this is not my space. This is not my lane at all.
But it should it's not your lane, but because you have so much inside of you, like you're just a light, and all the gifts that you have, like people are attracted to the light that's inside of you, and so when you show up in front of the camera, like when you were doing those Friday nights, I do remember that. You're sharing your light with the world, and you're helping somebody because you were helping the teenage age group that people may have ignored. Because I remember you did a post about, I think it was something about like teenagers being ignored during that time. And basically, like, don't forget, like, they're going through this pandemic too. Like, it's not just you, like this is affecting them as well. And I like what you said earlier when you said that about being the kid's friend, because I've never heard that perspective before. This is my first time hearing that perspective, and I agree with that. I am her friend because she does trust me and she's able to come to me and talk to me about certain things, and then I'm able to help her navigate and help her see the whole picture so that she can make the greatest decision. And that's important, especially in high school, because when she goes to college, she's going to be there physically by herself, where now, okay, the things that my mom taught me growing up and in high school, when these circumstances, scenarios came up, now I have to make a decision on how I'm going to respond to them based off what she taught me and what I was able to go to her in high school. So some of the stuff that she's has went through in high school, I was like, whoa, like,
Right.
okay, like, but it was like, okay, God, like, what do I do? And I'm like, well, I'm glad that she's going through that now, because she still has me here, whereas I can help her see the whole picture of it, and then she can make a decision, and then keep making that decision once she, go on to college. So I like that I'm her friend. That is true, because I am. I never heard that before. So excuse me, I need a minute to my audience to like just take that in, because that is such a refreshing perspective about the whole friend and parent thing. And I think the way you explained it was perfect. Like, that's probably definitely going to be like a soundbite, because I think more parents need to hear that. Like, when our kids are able to come to us and talk to us about what's going on with them that's not surface, like past that surface part, that's real and that's important and that's deep, and that's something that other parents should understand. Like, hey, okay, we're not friends as far as like me and my
Right.
girlfriends, like we, finna chop it up and talk about, adult grown up stuff, but I am her friend. I'm her mother. I'm her friend. I'm not just, just a person that's going to dictate to her. So I love that. Thanks for sharing that
Yeah.
on this show, because I really love that. So when the show that you was doing for the teenagers around that time, I remembered it because I didn't see nobody else really talking about the teenagers. It was more so a lot of parents just telling their feelings about how they feel and how they are, and they was not bringing the kids into the conversation. And it was around that time that I was like, wait a minute, let me make sure my daughter okay. And she was not okay. And so then I had to be like, okay, you're not the only one going through this pandemic. Like, she's going through this too, and she needs you, and she, needs to be able to feel like she's a part of it as well. And we're not just, in the house, because she's in the house with me too. Like, I'm sure she was tired of looking at me and seeing me, and I'm the only person, because it was just me and her in the house. So it was just like, she probably like, okay, like, what's going on? So thinking about my daughter and, what challenges she was going through, and even with school being virtual, and then going from virtual the first semester, and in the second semester going into high school, like, that was a big change for her. And I mean, now she's a junior, so she's this here in this where I live in Texas now, freshman and sophomore years in one school, and then junior and senior years in another school. So she had that transition with COVID at the beginning of high school, and then again when she went into junior year, because now she's in the junior senior high school, and it's like a college campus. Like, it's that
Oh
big.
my.
Like, it's building A over here, building G over there. So at first I'm like, girl, why you being late to your classes? Like, what's going on? And she was like, oh, the building is all the way over there. And I'm like, I didn't, because from the front of it, I didn't know the school was that
Mhm.
big. And then when I understood that, I said, oh, this is almost like a college campus. And I'm like, okay, I need to make sure she's, spending her time right and accurately, so she can get to these classes on time. But then I understood too that sometimes you can't get to class on time if your class all the way over there. It's about having like patience and having effective communication with her. So let's fast forward to 2019. Did you start doing hair while you was in school, or did you wait? Or
Okay, so while I was in school, I consider myself a pandemic baby. That's what I say about my school experience, because we weren't working with clients. Most of my work was on a mannequin, and just kind of like being isolated because we couldn't work in groups. It was just like, it was a pandemic. So, but the young lady who colors my hair, her and I became friends. And while I was in school, she was just like, I'll be your mentor, whatever you need, I can help you or whatever. So when I would have breaks or on Saturdays, whenever I had free time, I would work in a salon with her so that I could get some in-salon experience. And when I graduated from school, she immediately threw me in. When I tell you immediately, like when I was in school, I only cut two live people, two live customers' hair the whole time I was in school. Everything else I did was always mannequin work. So I didn't feel confident in being able to really cut hair or work with people because I really wasn't working with people. And I was pretty intimidated because those young girls come in there knowing how to do hair, okay? Me with my old self, I'm in here like a roller set. I never did a roller set before in my life. Like, I just, all of those skills I literally had to learn. None of it came naturally for me. So, but again, when I graduated from school, she immediately just kind of like threw me in there. But I had the client and she assisted me with the client. And I think she had an emergency one time, and it was like I would do the style and she would come in and do the cut. And she had an emergency one time, and she was like, "Well, you need to, that crap or get off the pot type thing." She was like, "Look, you need to do it. So this is your first haircut. You got to do it." And after that, I mean, like it was just kind of smooth sailing from there.
when you was going to the school and you was seeing all these younger people, what made you be like, even though I'm older and there's younger people in here that know how to do, some of the things that I don't know how to do, what made you, I guess, just stay focused on your own vision of what you wanted to accomplish and not worry about like what everybody else was doing? Because like I remember back in the day, I had went back to college, and it was like one of those things where I was like, oh my gosh, a lot of young people in here, and I was like kind of like intimidated, like, am I too old to be trying to go back to college, or should I just stay in my lane? Or like so I'm thinking that I want to know that you, like, what was going on with you, that you just like kept showing up like, yeah, I'm older than y'all, but hey, first of all, I don't look it, number one, but I'm gonna stay focused on I'm gonna stay focused on what I came here for.
Yeah, I was intimidated so many days. Like, I would be in there like, what the hell are you doing here, Samantha? Like, I just didn't. I guess I knew there was an end game, but I didn't really know what the end game was gonna be. You know what I mean? So I was intimidated lots of times, but I really feel like, so at first I was kind of isolated, like they called me bougie or whatever. They probably didn't realize that I had kids older than them. And so once some of the girls got to know me, it was just kind of like I became more like a mentor to them, a life mentor. They would talk about their kids and, their parents or their jobs or whatever the case may be.
So I wanted to go back to when you were talking about the network marketing company that we were in and the development that we learned. I agree. So I'm glad that I'm able to talk to you about it, because like, I mean, I still know some people that's still in that company, but I wanted to say that I thought like you, like, okay, I'm about to get a BMW.
Yes.
I'm about to get a winter vacation. Like, I'm about to do all these things. And then what ended up happening was I learned so much about me and things I didn't know, never heard of before. I started reading all these. I always read. I love books, so I always been a reader. But I was reading books that I had never heard about before until I got into network marketing. So it was like, okay, so like then when I look back, it's like, oh, okay, I really joined that because God wanted to like help shape my character and help me to learn things so that I can use that with the gifts that he's placed in me that I'm going to be sharing with the world. And I didn't realize it at the time. And I remember Darren Hardy. I had never heard of Darren Hardy before at that time.
Yeah.
And I remember he was gonna be a speaker, and I had brought his CDs. So I'm dating myself, y'all, talking about CDs. But I had brought his CDs, and he was talking about like taking ownership of your life and ownership of the things that you've been through. And that was something that I had not felt like I had really did. Like, like I still was playing like the blame game, like no, you did this to me. Like, no, I'm not moving forward. We're not passing go. You did this to me, and this is where we at.
Yeah.
And when I listened to that, and he was talking about like different things that happened to you in your life, and just letting it go, and forgiving and ownership. Like, I tell my triplets sometimes about the self-entitlement stage that I feel like some people go through in their 20s. I went through it a little bit, but it was more so I wouldn't say I was self-entitled, but I was probably like level 1 self-entitlement in my 20s. But then like I started to learn, like, okay, you are not entitled to anything. Like, nobody has to do anything for you. Nobody has to give you anything. Like, nobody has to help you out. Nobody has to open any doors for you or help you succeed in life. Like, nobody has to do that.
Mm-hmm.
However, if they do, it's okay, So I had to learn that. I've grown so much since those times, all because of that development that happened there. And a couple of weeks ago on my podcast, I had shared a phone conversation with Eric Thomas that I had with him back then at that time when he was going to be a speaker at one of the conferences. He was the one that said, "You mean to tell me you had triplets and you didn't write a book about it?" Like, he was the one that told me that. However, I didn't know that when I did start writing that book 6 years ago when I moved to Texas, that I was going to have to deal with all the trauma that happened to me in my life, and I wasn't ready to deal with it. So I was taking breaks, and I wasn't able to continue on. And then I'd be like, okay, God, because it's like, God, how God gave you something, and it's like, okay, until you do this, you're not going to get the next thing. Yeah. And so I kept like trying to compromise with God and be like, you know what, I can't do this. Like, I can't write this. It's too much. I don't want to deal with it. Like, I don't want to talk about it. And so I went to counseling, and like, I'm glad you brought up counseling because I'm a big believer in counseling, but I went to counseling to get through some of those things that I didn't want to talk about or deal with or face and things like that. And so now I'm in a much better place, thank God, so that I could. And I was like, God, I didn't know that me writing this book was going to be all of this. I'm thinking like, okay, I'm going to write this book. It's going to be done. Like, boom, 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 6 months. Yeah, like 6 months, like, boom, out, push. No, here we are 6 years later. 6 years later, and just now I am getting ready to finally, which I don't even like to talk about, I don't like to say like, oh, I'm about to do this, because I just want to be like, here, the book is here y'all, because of everything that I went through to get it pushed out. So I wanted to talk about, you mentioned something on your page about it being Multiple Sclerosis Awareness Month in the month of March. And there's also, is it a donor walk or what is it?
Yeah, so it's the MS Society. They have a MS walk every year. And they have it everywhere, but and it's in a few different places here in Illinois, but we'll be doing the one in Soldier Field April 30th. So it's a fundraiser, so people can donate to my particular group. The money doesn't go to me, it goes to the MS Society, and hopes to find a cure. And they can also choose to just walk with me if that's what they choose to do.
Okay, nice. So you said that's April 30th?
Mm-hmm.
At Soldier Field in Chicago.
Chicago.
Okay. I will get the link off of your page and make sure I include that into this recording when it releases on Monday, just to help bring awareness to that. I don't know a lot of people that have MS. I know some people, but I don't know a lot of people that have MS. So I don't know fully everything about it, but I'm always like open to learning about everything when it comes to challenges that I guess people are facing and deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And so for you, I've seen some posts, and at first when I saw the post, I'm like, is she saying that she has MS, or is she just talking about it because this is something that she's passionate about, bringing awareness to? This is like, I don't know, maybe like a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I didn't know. And then I was like, okay, no, let me go on her page and like really search through her page and see like what's going on, because you post like I post, and it'd be like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I enjoy your post. I enjoyed your post that you even said about the whole Chris Rock thing, or that commentary that was on your page, because I had commentary about it too. It was very interesting. But can you share maybe a testimony, or talk more about like what it is, what MS is, and how it affects your body, and where does MS stand today?
Okay. So I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2021. I started testing in 2020. I had been having like a neck and shoulder pain for a couple of years, and my doctor was like trying all these different things, but nothing was really helping. And finally, I'm like, yo, you got to do something. Like, I'm like, you got to give me a CAT scan. She was like, a CAT scan, no, but we can do an X-ray. And then from the X-ray, we did the MRI. And the MRI of my neck and shoulder showed parts of my brain and spine. So what multiple sclerosis is it's called, it's like lesions on your brain and on your spine. So it's like mini scars. That's what MS kind of stands for too. Mini scars. So it's like when the scars are active, they're doing something else. But when they're not active, it's just leaving like this matter, on the brain and on the spine. So that MRI showed that I had some lesions there, and we just continued to do testing from there. So I officially was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and still didn't know much about it in May of 2021. And I didn't know anything about it because my doctor kind of made me promise not to do a lot of Google researching and stuff like that. It's like, look, it's a rabbit hole. Once we get there, we can discuss it, but just don't scare yourself while you're doing all these things. And I had like major tests done. And so yeah, I was diagnosed in May of 2021, and it was and I was still in school.
Okay.
I was still in school, and it was like, it feels like, because you don't know a lot about it, but when you find out when you find out anything about it, you find out that people deal with vision loss, paralysis, all types of different disabilities. They could be cognitive issues, like it could be just a range of things, right? That can happen because it happens differently for different people. And it felt like a death sentence immediately. Like immediately, I felt like I'm not going to finish school. I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm not going to be able to do that. I sent myself into a panic attack the day after diagnosis and I never had a panic attack before.
Yeah.
But just because like my mind was doing so many things, but then I was still trying to push forward without giving myself some time to process everything.
Yeah.
So yeah. And I don't know what else. So it's an autoimmune disease, and I'm still learning.
Yeah.
A lot. I'm in a couple of groups. I'm moderating a group called, I'm helping to moderate a group called We Are Ill. Some women that are just phenomenal. They were just on the Sherry Shepherd show just a couple weeks ago, actually.
Okay.
And I'm just trying to get my feet wet, because honestly, I don't know a lot about it. But what I do know is that people they have one idea of what it is. And it's another idea. I'm the idea of what it is, and so that's why I try to be as vocal about it as possible, because had I not been connected to women who were still out here moving and shaking, who were out here still trying to, smash some goals and do some things, then I would have probably sunk and shrunk into myself, just, feeling sorry for myself. And I think that a lot of illness starts in the mind. Like,
Yes.
surely
Yes.
you're in pain. Like, I don't want to invalidate anybody's experience.
Right.
And that it's all in your mind. No, I'm not saying that at all, but I'm saying that if sometimes a very healthy person immediately can get a diagnosis, or a seemingly healthy person can get a diagnosis for something and then become that thing. And if you don't have to become that thing, if it hasn't overtaken you, then you overtake it and try to get out here and do all of the things. And this is what I'm trying to do with this diagnosis. Like, this is why I open up my own salon. This is why I still work my full-time job. This is why, I try to be a light for my family and try to be a friend to my daughter and just try to do the things that I do, because I remember feeling very hopeless in the beginning and feeling like this was it. I had my grandbaby was just born that year too.
Yeah.
And girl, like, just crying many days, like, what if I'm not able to be a grandmother to him, So I just don't take anything for granted. And I think that more than anything, that's what multiple sclerosis has done for me. It has pushed me out of my comfort zone to do all of the things to be here with you today. Because again, this is not I don't feel like it's my lane, or it hasn't been my lane up until now. That's what I'll say. I'll change my language about it. These are things that I definitely, when we were in a network marketing company, like, y'all had to push me to the front of the room.
That's how it was. It was the same way with me. It was the same way with me. I remember Romo was like, "Oh, I can't make it to the PBR," and I'm like, "What? So you got to do it by yourself?" Wait a minute, what? I can't do it by myself. But it pushed me out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
So with the groups that you are in, the support groups that you are in, I feel like that it helps with knowing that somebody else has been diagnosed with the same thing, and we're able to come in the group and speak and talk to each other about different things that's going on, and then we're able to relate because we've all been diagnosed with the same diagnosis. So has that helped you to be encouraging? And then I see that, like, being a moderator for the group, like, that's big too, and like, that's big too. Like, that's stepping out of your comfort zone to do that, which I didn't. So I always look at you as a stylish person, always been stylish, always just cool, always cool vibes whenever we were always talking. Like you said, in the parking lot, we'd be talking after the PBRs and stuff. So how has that support in the group been for you?
It's been everything. Like, some of the friends that I've made in the group, I have yet to meet in face to face, but those are my real life sisters.
Yeah.
Like, it's two girls in particular. Like, listen, I done sent a birthday gift to one girl, and I've never met her before, but that's just how much she means to me. And she made an impression on me because we were in another group together. And you feel energy. You can feel like people's posts, their comments and stuff like that. And some of the people in the groups are woe is me every day. You know what I mean? And some people have hope and they have light, and just in the midst of whatever is going on, you can just still see that they believe and they have some faith. So she was one of the people who I just sent her a friend request. And from sending her the friend request, like, we started inboxing, and I was just like, "Hey, do you mind having a conversation with me and telling me about your experience?" And we were on the phone probably for like 2 hours, talking to me, a total stranger.
Yeah.
And that's what community does for you. Like, because my family, I know they love me. Like, my sisters will do anything for me. My husband will do anything for me, but they don't understand what I'm going through. You know? They don't understand that I look just like this sometimes, but I feel awful. My body is turning on me on the inside, and that when I look like this and my voice is still high and all of the things, but I'm saying I don't feel good. It's an oxymoron. It's like, what do you mean you don't feel good? You look fine. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And for many years, we can track my multiple sclerosis back at least for 8 years. we can track it back from some of the symptoms that I had been having.
Mm-hmm.
But I was in a habit of pushing myself to just continue through, like no matter how I
Yeah.
was feeling, because I didn't know anything was wrong.
I mean, that's what we do. That's what we do, though.
Yeah,
We just keep pushing. We just keep going, and then we don't even realize, like, wait a minute. I think something is really going on with my body that I need to go and see what's going on,
exactly. And so,
because we're so used to
mm-hmm.
moving, and like I said, we're the making sure the flow is going in our homes and with our families and things.
Yeah, and that's what that group did for me, Nikisa. Like, it made me know I wasn't crazy. That
Yeah.
I could look and feel just like, well, I can look just like this. I can sound just like this. But I don't feel good. And to honor that, like, you know what? I might have made plans to do X, Y, Z, but I'm going to probably feel better if I just lay down and chill today instead of continuing to push myself to do other things. And so, not having a community, I wouldn't have known that I could be looking and feeling looking like this and feeling like something different.
Yeah.
The two groups that I'm in, that I'm very active in, those women are amazing. And just having people that understand, we cheer each other on. People are in there having babies. People are like, that were having walking aids. Sometimes like they don't need those aids anymore.
Oh,
It's just
nice.
so many things that happen that we cheer each other on. But then there's other things that happen where it's not so great. Somebody might now need a walking aid when they didn't need one before.
Yeah.
Losing vision, may not be able to live on their own anymore. Whatever the case may be, like just having that community has really, really helped. And I don't know what I would have done without it, because it feels very isolating. Even though I know I have my family and they love me, I really feel like nobody really understands how I feel.
Right.
Having those people.
And they don't.
Yeah.
They don't, like you said earlier, they love you and they'll do anything for you, but they don't know how you feel.
Yeah.
They don't know because they don't have that diagnosis. So being able to connect with other people in the community helps you to cope.
Yeah.
And build friendships to people that you build friendships with. Like that's amazing. Like that's amazing. I want you to share with somebody that's listening to this podcast when it airs, basically inspiration of how you've been able to be the woman that you are today, and how you've become the woman that you are today. Amazing woman that I wanted to have on my show and share your story with the world. Share your story with the world, because we don't get to talk every day, but I remember I told you before, like I remember we used to be so close, and then I was like, you was like, I'm still rooting for you. I'm still rooting for you. And I was like, I'm still rooting for you too, girl. Like we don't have to talk every day to be still rooting for each other, but I'm definitely always rooting for you. So I want you to share with somebody that may be listening that may feel like, the challenges are getting the best of them. And with your testimony, like how has this helped shape the relationship with God in the last year, 2 years? 21? We're in 23 now. Wow. 2 years. Like, how has your relationship with God changed? And what would you say to inspire somebody to keep going, like to continue to have hope in this life no matter what they have been diagnosed with?
Girl, as you were talking, all I was hearing is, as I look back over my life and I see things over. Listen, God has been good. My story started at 16. You know what I mean? Not even 2-3 years ago. At 16, when I became a mother to a little boy who's now about to turn 25, and he's a father today, and a super celebrity barber, and just all of these things. And it's just like I can look back at every single obstacle and know that God has been there. But I always believed like that, even that mustard seed faith. I didn't always know for sure what was going to happen, but I always just had faith that God wasn't going to leave me, and that I was always going to have connections, and that the right people were always going to be sent to me. And I would just tell someone, just to keep going. Like, don't become your circumstance. You have to overcome your circumstance. And no matter what it is, no matter how dreadful it may be, if you live to see another day, it's another day that you can do something differently. It's another day that God can bless you. It's just another day that things can turn around for you. And just within the last 2 to 3 years, I'll say that my relationship with God has changed from religion to relationship. Because when we couldn't go to church, when it was just, when we were in a pandemic and it was just me and God, I got a window right in front of where I'm sitting right now. And I used to just sit in that window and cry and pray and cry and pray. And I didn't have no praise team. I didn't have no preacher. I didn't have nobody hyping me up. It was like the most lonely time of my life when I felt like I needed something. But I had everything I need. God had never left me. He wasn't in the church building. He wasn't in the praise and worship team. He was here with me. And I feel like that's what I carry with me every single day. So I may not be the most active member in church and whatever as I used to be, but I feel like my relationship with God has never been closer.
Thank you so much, Samantha, for coming on the Bold Bossy Blessed podcast.
Thank
I
you, Evan.
appreciate it. Tight curlpreneur. um, really enjoyed this conversation with you, and that's one of the reasons why I didn't want to send let's talk about these topics or let's do this, because I really wanted the conversation to flow. And sometimes what I had to learn myself, because before I used to do scripted, where it would be like, okay, I'm going to talk about this for this amount of time, this for this amount of time. And then those were the times where it didn't flow. And then what God was showing me, almost like how he tell, he say, I'm going to put the words in your mouth. So now when I do the show, I just have a conversation and then God tells me where to go. I didn't even know I was going to be talking to you about hair. I knew that we would talk about you, doing hair, but about the curl pattern. I didn't know where we was going to go today when we started having the conversation, but I really enjoyed today's conversation. I enjoyed the part, especially about me being a friend to my daughter. And I'm going to have a conversation with her after this podcast recording is over, because that's something that I said recently to her. Yes, I'm not your, I told her, I said, yes, I'm not your friend. I said, but I'm here as a parent to kind of be like, I'm your parent. But now I want to go back to her and explain to her, I'm your parent, but I'm also your friend because you trust me and you're able to come to me and talk to me about things that's going on with your life. So I thank you for that nugget today. And I thank you for sharing your testimony with the audience today. And I pray that somebody is encouraged, they're inspired to keep hope and to have faith in God. And even if they have a little faith, that faith is all they need. Yes. So thank you for being on the show. I look forward to having you back again. And I'm going to post the link for April 30th at Soldier Field for the MS Walk.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. It was such a pleasant surprise. And my first immediate reaction was like, girl, I never did a different podcast. But
you said yes.
I was yes. Because I told you, it's just kind of like I felt like if God asked me to do something these days and just use my voice. Yeah. And I know we're about to wrap it up, but I want to say it was probably in maybe 2017 or 2018. I got a download from God, literally said to get comfortable hearing your own voice. And I put it in my calendar. You may have even seen the post about this, because I posted it a couple years ago, actually, where it was like, God told me, get comfortable hearing your own voice. And so I put it in my calendar, and it goes off on my calendar every single month. And it's just kind of like, well, this is where we are. So you asked me, and my first reaction was to be like, girl, no, but
girl, that gave me chills. Get comfortable hearing your voice. Yeah. You know what that means. That means that you are your voice is going to open up so many doors for you. And also your story, your testimony, whatever it is that God has placed in you, whatever message that he's placed in you to be able to share with the world, which I'm going to be sitting there too, cheering you on, waiting on you to do it. So now I'm really gonna be like, okay, girl, I haven't heard your voice. Like, what's going on? What's going on? So thanks for sharing that. Like, I really enjoyed this conversation with you, and thank you for being so open and transparent and sharing your life with the audience. And I look forward to having you back again.
All right. Thank you, Nikisa. And we got to catch up.
Yes. I know.
We have to catch up.
I know, right?
All right. I love you so much. Thank you for having me.
I want to thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Bold, Bossy, and Blessed podcast. Don't forget to be bold, make bossy moves, and stay blessed. Go to my website, www.boldbossyblessed.com, and use discount code OVERCOME to purchase the ebook Overcome Obstacles: How to Overcome Obstacles and Turn Them into Success. Thank you for listening to another episode of Bold, Bossy, and Blessed podcast. Make sure you're following me on all social media platforms at Nikisa Green, and make sure you subscribe to this podcast as well. Until next time, be bold, make bossy moves, and stay blessed.